Three, two, one, zero.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
A big hello, and we are live. It is our 10th Student Enterprise Program live broadcast. I'm really freaked out. In 2 weeks' time, I've run out of fingers, so I can only do 10. I'm going to need to grow another finger. On tonight's show, we're going to talk about breaking down the Student Enterprise Program Marking Scheme. So you guys are probably quite busy right now putting your submissions together as you prepare for the county finals. So with a bit of luck, you put in a really good submission for the county finals, and that can lead to the national finals, which are going to take place obviously in May. So what makes a good submission? What makes a bad submission? That's what we're going to find out tonight. Tonight, we have two very, very special Student Enterprise Program judges joining us, giving us some tips and tricks on what makes a really, really good submission. So let's head over to the green room, see whether we can find anyone in the green room. It's not as barren as the other day. Who do we see in here? Is there anyone in the green room? There is. There's John. There's John.
Hello.
There you
Hi.
go. John is from mindcoach.ie, and he's one of the national judges, so one of the national judges, and he's going to break down the junior and intermediate marking schemes tonight with, of course, our resident expert. Where's our resident expert? Oh, there she is. It's Caroline. So Caroline.
Hi, everyone. Hi, John.
Nice.
Hi.
Caroline talked a little earlier to Peggy McGlynn, who's also a highly experienced national student enterprise program judge, and she's going to talk about the senior category. So essentially talk you through the marking for the senior category. And the lads in the background, I thought they were playing Fortnite. We have I was going to say a special guest tonight, but we actually have two of them in the form of Daniel and Jack. There they are there. They've got their mics, their mic off at the moment, but that's in the background, that's Jack, I believe. So we have Jack and Daniel from the Handy Hose Holders joining us tonight. Now, in fact, they won the senior category competition back in 2020. They're the lads. So there they are. They're waving away. They're just finishing off a game of Fortnite, I think. But they're going to be talking to us in a little bit about their experience, their brilliant idea. So what is Handy Hose Holders and what they've been up to since winning the competition? So that's our plan of attack for this evening, so to speak. I heard what some of you guys were saying. You said, are there any competitions tonight, Greg? I heard you. There are. So as ever, we have two competitions tonight. Competition for our teachers, which is a €50 one for all voucher. What do teachers need to win the competition tonight? Well, we have some footage coming up a little later from the Student Enterprise Program center. So we have it's our marking center. So we're going to be going live to the Student Enterprise Program Marking Center. When you see that footage, you just need to text in your name, your school, and your county to 086 1537 440 to be in with a chance of winning that voucher. But what about the students, I hear you say? Don't worry, students, we have you covered. Innovation is definitely part of a good business idea, something that's slightly innovative. So we have a very random bit of footage of a pet-related COVID accessory. Oh yeah, a pet-related COVID accessory. When you see the bizarre pet-related COVID accessory, That's your cue to text or WhatsApp 086 1537 440 with your name, your school, and your county to be also in with the chance of winning a €50 one for all voucher. So there you go. So there are competitions. So look out for that pet related accessory. It seems like a great idea to get this party started and bring in Caroline. And I think we'll bring in John as well. And I will disappear temporarily, which sounds dreadful.
Okay.
But I'm going to hand over to Caroline and John to talk through. You guys are going to talk through the intermediate and junior marking scheme. And I think it's important to mention that the marking scheme that we have, guys, is a scheme that certainly most local enterprise offices are going to use when it comes to marking, but not exclusively. So some enterprise offices may tweak their marking screen or scheme a little bit, but ultimately this is a really, really good guide. So that's it for me. I'm going to disappear. Caroline, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Greg. Well, hello everyone, and again, we're delighted to be here tonight to concentrate on how we can help you, the teachers and students, to improve your presentation, your report, whatever you're going to be doing for the Student Enterprise Awards. Now, we're going to commence actually with the intermediate and the junior, and we're delighted to have John Byrne here, who has extensive experience. And whilst there is a marking scheme, and Greg did say what we're doing is really for the national final, it may change for the county final. So whatever your local enterprise office has submitted to you, ensure to follow that. What we're going to start with, which I think is really good, John has decided to go through all the different marking schemes and give you generic tips, which are really important, which will help you prepare for the Student Enterprise Awards. John, delighted to have you, and delighted and waiting anxiously to hear all those fantastic tips you have.
Okay, no worries. Well, I kicked them off, Caroline.
Well, okay, maybe if you started off with your first tip there that you're going to talk about the marking scheme, answering the questions.
Yeah, as Caroline has said, I have been meeting students and marking reports across all the categories over many, many years. And so what I decided to do is just to kind of take 5 things and highlight them as things that I've kind of experienced and that I'd like to bring to your attention. So the first, I have them down as kind of 5 tips. So the first thing that I would say is answer all the questions. There is a marking scheme, and regardless of what county or whether it's junior, intermediary, or senior, there's a marking scheme for the student enterprise, and this is what the judges will go by. And so when I say answer all the questions, it's akin to being told after your junior cert or your leaving cert, if you don't answer all the questions, we can't give you top marks. And so what happens a lot of the time is, so what I mean by that is within the marking scheme, there'll be things for finance, innovation, marketing, and I'm suggesting that you structure your report so that you make sure you give the judges some information on all of those areas. If you don't have information or much information on a certain area, we can't give you the marks. As much as we might like other aspects of the project, as much as we might like the product or the service or how well you marketed it, you're going to lose out. So the first kind of tip in terms of scoring as well as you can is to make sure that you address all of the key areas, and that's going to be kind of governed by the marking scheme. So that's the first tip that I would have. My second tip is in relation to innovation. Would I shoot into that, Caroline? So okay. Innovation, I suppose a lot of us may think about that as I've come up with this new idea for a product, or it's a new product altogether. But in our experience marking the reports or meeting the students and interviewing them, innovation comes in many forms. So it can be a product that's done before and you're just doing it a little bit better. But where there are other areas can innovate is people can innovate in terms of how they raise their finance. So some people have come up with ideas where they've raised a lot of their finance or even sold a lot of their products even before they've made them. So that has impacts for the cash flow. Some people may innovate in terms of how they have marketed themselves and or even how they've sourced the raw materials. Maybe they've picked the raw materials that have been recycled, or they're being disposed of by one business and they're repurposing them. So the there's a broader way of looking at innovation in a business. So don't think about it just as the product or the service. Think about it in all different ways. Is there ways that you can market yourself that's a bit different? That will come, from my point of view, that's something that I recognize as being innovative, and I'll kind of consider that in the overall scheme of things. So that's point number 2 in relation to innovation. Point number 3 is in relation to marketing, and what I title is, I say, make marketing meaningful. In my experience reading a lot of the reports and meeting students over the years, these days, because there's such a focus on social media, there's often people that they set up their Instagram accounts, Facebook, or whatever. There's a feeling that that's the marketing, and that's one part of marketing. But the problem is that having a social media account doesn't make it marketing. It's, marketing is about understanding what is the problem that I'm solving, who am I making this product or service for, and how do I kind of get my message to them? How do I get their attention? How do I let them know that, create some visibility with that market and build some credibility with that market, and so they know then that I have something for sale. So that's my point. Make marketing meaningful. It's not just about having Facebook accounts, and it's not just about having sales in your schools and stuff like that, although they may well be totally appropriate. But think about who your customer is and where you might be able to engage with them and grab their attention. So, and again, on the marketing side, in relation to things like market research, just because something isn't working out, when we see that they tried this, that wasn't selling, they adjusted, they pivoted in that term that they use today during COVID. They've decided, listen, we won't go down that road. We're going to go this road. That kind of stuff, making mistakes, adjusting your strategy, that kind of stuff is kind of seen by judges in a very positive light, because that's very close to real life. All we have to do is look at COVID now, and real businesses, deciding, well, listen, we can't get people into a restaurant, so therefore we're going to do takeaway meals, or we can't do this, so we're going to do online cookery classes. So that kind of pivoting and is very relevant, and it always has been, and it's been highlighted with COVID. And I think there is something in the marketing scheme this year about, have you adjusted your business plan or strategy to meet with that challenge this year? So that is point number 3, make your marketing meaningful. Again, the better you understand your client, the easier it is to kind of get the right message to the right person. The 4th point I like to call, show me the money. A lot of the time, obviously the financial performance is a very important thing, but a lot of the time on the reports or the feedback or the submissions or in the interviews, there's sometimes confusion about what's forecasted, what's actual sales. So very, very simply, there isn't the money side of it isn't that complicated. What I'm looking for is, clearly tell me how much it costs to make your product or deliver your service. Tell me how much you're going to charge for that, and then tell me how much you're going to make on each unit or each customer. So that's your margin. And then, simple as that. Then give me some idea of your forecasted sales and your forecasted cash flow, because the cash flow is the kind of thing that you can have a load of sales, but without the cash flow, you can't deliver that product, or it can put you out of business in the real world, in real life. And then when you've done your sales and forecast and that kind of stuff, then the final sets of figures are, what were your sales, what were your expenses, and what were your profits? And sometimes that isn't very clear from the reports as to, are these forecasted sales, are these actual sales? I'm saying, don't be shy about giving me the information or giving other judges or putting them out there what the information was, and don't be ambiguous. Make it clear, this is what we forecasted, this is what we sold, it was below or under or over expectations, and this is why this was. And that's all part of business, and that's all part of real business. So that is point number 4 about the money side of things. And my final point is, that's what I call hard work works. Regardless of all the other stuff in relation to innovation, the product, the strategies, the marketing strategies, the financial strategies, the operational things, and how you all get on together, in order to succeed, you have to work harder than then you have to work harder, be relentless, and more than your competitors. And we see this year after year. People who are relentless in terms of overcoming problems and coming up with new ways of getting around them. Relentless about pushing on the sales side of things. And that involves, I know for a lot of people, in terms of feedback, that involves a lot of getting past your discomfort about selling for lots of people, or kind of putting your head out there and saying, will you buy this off me? So push in relation to the sales side of thing. And you get the rewards when you push past that. I've talked to students in the past, and initially they can be very apprehensive about the sales side of things. But once they start doing it and once they start making progress, that, then they feel that they've really learned from the overall process. So the people who tend to win, people who do too well, tend to work very, very hard at their projects and at their business. So there are kind of 5 observations that I have from many years of marketing and meeting students across all of the categories, and hopefully that will give you some insight as to what the judges are looking for. I know Caroline was telling me, the competition is always changing, and we've had to change, obviously, when it comes to COVID, and we aren't meeting the students, obviously, the way we were in previous years this year. So you've got to be really, really clear. I know a lot of reports are being done now via poster. You've got to be really, really clear about the big questions about your business. Who am I making this for? Why did I decide to go for this market? How did I decide to sell it? How did we deliver that? How did we? What kind of money did we make? What did we forecast? What did we learn? That's also another big thing for me. When I ask students about, was there any problems on the team, that I'm not disappointed to hear, oh, we couldn't get on, or we were having fights, or people weren't doing enough work. That to me is absolute real life. That to me is really learning from the process. And a judge is not going to they're not going to respond negatively to what you might think is bad news. That's all part of the process, and the learning and development is a huge part of the process. So don't be worried about that kind of stuff. That's all part of life and of business. So that's some of my observations, and hopefully I've kind of put them into a couple of nutshells so that they're easier for you to take away and bring them into your own projects this year and going forward in future businesses.
Okay, thank you, John. That was fantastic. I love the way that you brought it down into 5 key areas to answer all the questions: the innovation, the marketing, the show me the cost, and also the hard work. And while the marking schemes are there, make sure to follow them. But remember what we said, these may change from county to county, but these are the ones for the national final. And remember, there's quite a substantial amount of marks going, as John was saying, for your development. What did you learn from this, and the skills that you actually developed, in particular for the junior cycle, which links with the junior and intermediate section. So thank you so much, John. That was really insightful and a great help for all our students and teachers.
Great. Thanks, Caroline. Cheers.
My favorite point that John made was, make sure you cover all the criteria. So very quickly, just what I want to do is I'm just going to throw the criteria up on the screen. There's a lot there, but bearing in mind, you can download the marking scheme directly from the studententerprise.ie website. But if we actually we'll go for the junior category first. So you can see the various different sections here. So there's 10 points, for example, for market research. So if I don't mention market research when I'm putting my submission together, I'm going to get 0 points. There's 10 points for the marketing mix, the 4 Ps. If I don't answer that, I get 0 points. So a really, really valid point that John was making is make sure that you go through the marking scheme and you ensure that you're addressing every element that's requested. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on points. It's no different from the intermediate category, which I've just put on the screen now. Again, market research, 10 points, marketing mix, 10 points. Your unique selling point is also 10 points. So to John's point there, make sure that you cover all those points, because sadly, John can't give you any points for anything that you didn't answer. So I think some really, really good words of wisdom there.
Yeah.
So thank you, John. But just that's a massive takeaway, guys. Make sure that you look at the marking scheme, you cover all those particular points. Really, really important. Thanks so much, John. Absolutely brilliant.
Good stuff. Thank you.
We were talking about, I think innovation was mentioned as well. And remember, I was saying about the slightly random COVID pet accessory. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What the hell was that? It's like a scene from a horror movie. Students, that's go, go, go. That's your chance to win €50 right now. So get texting or WhatsApping your name, your school, and your county to 086 1537 440. First message wins. So there we go. We also have our special guests tonight. Let's have a chat to them in the form of Daniel and Jack. Daniel and Jack, how are we doing, lads?
Good. Wow, not too bad.
There they are. Now, these guys won the senior category last year. Didn't have the razzmatazz thanks to COVID that we usually get in Croke Park, but are our senior category winners. Their business idea was, or business, because it's a goddamn business now, is handy hose holders. And the lads will tell us a little bit more about their idea in a minute. But let's just take a moment. What exactly is handy hose holders? There we go. So fantastic stuff. So that was Daniel starring in that video, wasn't it? Was that you, Daniel? Was it?
Yeah.
There you go. Very good. So first up, guys, can you explain to us a little bit more about what your business idea was?
Yeah. So first of all, we thought there must be an easier way to, when you're milking, to pick up the washdown hose. I was walking down with my father on the farm, and he was continually bending down to pick it up. So we thought there must be an easier way to do it. And we saw there was a metal plate running along the side of the parlour, and we thought maybe that could come in handy. We could use that somehow to keep the hose up. So we thought of magnets first of all to join the two together, and then we just needed something to join the hose with the magnet. And after a bit of research and looking online, we found a clip that would suit to connect the magnet and the hose. So we eventually put it together, and we found our product then.
What I love about the idea is it's so simple, isn't it? Like, it's one of those ones, the best business ideas, very often the best business is those things where you go, why didn't I think of that? Absolutely ingenious. So what have you guys done since winning? I can see Glanbia are selling that product. So tell us what you've been up to.
Yeah, so after we won it, we were lucky enough. We managed to reach out, and Glanbia were interested in taking our product and putting it into the stores, which was brilliant. We're trying to push it out there and get as many sales as possible. So now it's in all the Glanbia shops around the place, and you can order it on the website online as well.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic stuff. And what did winning the Student Enterprise Program in 2020 mean for you guys?
I suppose it gave us confidence and belief that we actually had a good product and that could be sold throughout Ireland, I suppose, in the stores, and gave us, I suppose, pride as well, winning the national final, that we actually came up with a good idea. Good publicity. Yeah. It really kind of helps show people your idea when you have a bit of back behind it, it's worth something.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So another win for Tipperary. What school were you representing, lads?
Thurles CBS.
Thurles CBS. Just a shout out for Thurles CBS. Fantastic stuff. And what did the competition teach you guys? So to student enterprise program, what things did you learn on it? What lessons or nuggets have you taken away from the competition?
I suppose you can always improve the products. Certainly our coordinator that was over Tipperary anyway, Joanne O'Donnell, she always wanted to try and improve, whether it was our report or our product, try and improve on it. And even if it's a tiny thing, like change a few words in the report, always do it and make sure, try and get the best out of us, really. That's the main thing, I'd say.
That's a fantastic little piece of advice. And then what when you were filling out your submission form, I don't know whether you remember filling out your submission form, you know, John was given some fantastic advice on what you should include. What tips would you give to students that are currently working on their business submission now? What did you do that worked?
I would say take your time with it anyway. Like, don't rush it. Whatever you do, you know, this.
Yeah, I love that advice. Take your time. Like,
it shouldn't be something that should be just done inward and constant up. Because ultimately, that's kind of, you know, it's huge, really, and what you're going to be judged on, and you want your business to look as good as possible. So, you know, that's why we're saying, really, just don't rush it. Just put the time into it and make it as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah, and I think that's bang on. If we want to succeed, absolutely take your time. And you built it. There's a business now in this for you guys. So tell us about your future plans. What are your future plans for the famous Daniel and Jack now?
Get into many stores we can, co-ops. There's many stores in Ireland. So see how far it goes then when exactly, yeah.
Brilliant. And have you had to work around COVID? So even with this, has COVID changed your marketing approach and how things have you adapted around COVID?
Yeah, I suppose it was actually the day of our county final was when the schools and everything went into lockdown. So it was a bit of a surprise, all right, but we did what we could, really. Like, we just had to keep social media going. You know, like, we could still post our product, we could still definitely make sales. So I was just trying to keep it alive, a sale here, a sale there. We know it wasn't going to be as good as if there was no COVID. Like, it was obviously going to affect us, but we just kept going and just kind of kept tipping away at it and just trying to push it on again and again and again.
Yeah, because I nearly forget that you were so badly. You were affected at the beginning of COVID. Jeez, COVID's been going on for far too long, so it would have had a massive effect on yourself. So I like that little bit of advice. Focus on one sale at a time. There's a great piece of advice rather than try to reinvent the wheel. That's fantastic stuff. So lads,
well, on social media, which is great to see, I saw that your product was the ideal Christmas present. So I wonder, will it be the ideal Valentine's present now for all the farmers out there?
The ideal for everyone.
Yeah. I like that. That's a nice Valentine's Day present. Now, if I was only married to a farmer, that would be first up. But heck, for the amount of time I dropped the shower in my house, you know, I'm thinking you could even adapt this product way beyond farming. But it's so clever, so cool, guys. Daniel and Jack, you're very, very good for being with us this evening and popping in. We do appreciate it. It's lovely to see another Tipperary win. Really, honestly, it is. I promise it is. But you know, maybe the big Tipperary win again this year. So you guys will probably be in tears by the end of April as you'll be giving away your trophy or your mantle to a new winner for 2021. But guys, you're a fantastic senior category winner for the Student Enterprise Programme. We really appreciate you being with us tonight.
And lovely also that you mentioned the student enterprise coordinators that the local enterprise offices have going in to schools and supporting, and they're doing it through Zooms, etc. this year. And the fact that you mentioned Sue-Ann as well, O'Donnell, who played a huge part with you as well. So the very best of luck in the future, lads.
All the best. See you guys. Good luck. That's actually let's go live, Caroline, to the was it this Student Enterprise Programme Marking Centre.
Okay.
even our experts are trying to figure out the marking. We're getting we're starting to make progress. But there you go. There's a sneak peek, some live footage of our Student Enterprise Program Marking Centre. So, of course, teachers, that is your cue. So hopefully you're busy texting 086 153 7440 with your name, your school, and your county. And best of luck to all of you. You could win that €50 One for All voucher. Fantastic stuff. Caroline, you had a great chat with Peggy McGlynn.
I did, yeah, earlier on, and we actually went through the marking scheme in a lot of detail. But I think it will be important to, for seniors to actually go to that, and even to follow John's advice, and you even picked up there as well, Greg, to answer all those questions. So you need the marking scheme beside you when you're doing your report, and mark yourself, what would I give myself and how can I improve? So she goes into huge depth in that. So I think it would be very beneficial as well.
Great stuff. Well, let's listen in to your conversation with Peggy.
Good evening, everyone, and we're so delighted to have Peggy McGlynn here this evening, who's actually going to share her experience as a judge and go through the marking scheme, which is so important when preparing for this element of the Student Enterprise Awards, is actually the competition. So Peggy, delighted to have you here this evening.
Great, thanks very much, Caroline. So good evening, Caroline. Good evening to all the students and teachers who may be listening today. I've been judging for the last couple of years at the national final at senior level. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a look at each category, each area, and chat through what we believe you should be putting into your report in terms of the marking scheme. So will we start first, Caroline, with the product?
Okay, well, just to say that the marking scheme is available online. And it is not in your booklet, so just be aware of that, because it can change. As we know, this year we have marks going for coping with COVID. So we're going to just show where it is. It's actually on the website, studententerprise.ie. Go down under your teacher resources, your general resources, and you'll see the marking scheme there, and very important to follow. Okay, then, Peggy, we'll start with the product.
Okay, Caroline. So yeah, I guess at this stage, you've already chosen your product or service and you're working hard on that. I suppose what we'd be looking for is that, if it's a product that you've had the skills to actually manufacture it, or if you cannot produce it yourself, that you might actually outsource it. And, to say whether it was cost effective to do the product yourself or to outsource it, what materials you needed to make your prototype and the length of time it took to produce. Did you do some testing on it? Did you actually speak to experts in that field in times of, helping you to validate it? Did they give you any advice in terms of changing your design? Were there any intellectual property issues indeed? Had someone already made this product and did you check that out? In terms of the intellectual property, I suppose if it's a service, maybe take a look at the service in terms of, is it something that's relevant to today's world? I know you've already started this, and what you've actually done in terms of maybe even packaging. That's very important as well. That you let us see that maybe in terms of the quality control, maybe you did think of making a little video for the national final so we could actually see either the process in terms of production, or even if it is a service, how you've developed that, and even the distribution side to your customers as well.
Okay, and I suppose what students sometimes forget is you're just seeing this report for the first time, so that they have to really describe their product or service in detail, or perhaps that video or a photograph to show what it is. You often find, I suppose, times where students are saying how innovative it is, etc., and they don't describe what the main product or service is. That'll be very important. That's really, really useful. And also, we did have a night on intellectual property, so students need to be aware of that. In particular, the senior level students should know of that and apply it as well. I'm going to go on to the second element, which is very important as well, is market research, Peggy. What can you say about market research in terms of judging?
Okay, well, moving on then to market research, I think it's one of the most important things that you actually do, because what you need to do is identify your customers. You need to actually speak to them. I know you cannot go out and meet them these days because of COVID, but you actually need to do online surveys. You need to evaluate then the advice that your customers give you and actually implement it. We sometimes find that students, go off and they do a survey, be it online or otherwise, but they actually don't take the information that the customers have given them and, use it in terms of adapting or, updating their product or service. So that's very important. The customer is king, really. So you need to be aware of even meeting deadlines with customers as well. Maybe you can even set up some kind of focus or discussion groups and make sure that, your profile of customers, that you're actually talking to the right people in terms of who your target market actually is. What's your unique selling point here? And please do include graphs as well in your findings, in terms of let us know as judges what basically who you've sold to, and that maybe you're selling outside your comfort zone. Now, again, I know that that's more difficult these days because of COVID, but maybe some online selling might work in that respect.
Okay, I think you said something really important there, Peggy, about students actually doing the market research, and sometimes they just, put those lovely diagrams together and say this is what's said, but they didn't implement it. So there's still time for that. The county finals will be coming up. So if you came up with some kind of information, it would be really important that you actually applied it. And that leads us on to the marketing. Can you give us tips on marketing?
Absolutely. I suppose the marketing, what we need to really see is your marketing plan, folks. You need to make a plan from start to finish. Now, that plan may change. And I suppose, have you got a logo as well? Maybe you'd include that for us. Identify your competitors as well. Let us know who they are, that you've actually checked them out, because I'm sure there will be competitors out there, but that's good, to have competitors once you've checked them out and you see what they're actually doing. Are you going to do some leaflets, posters, business cards? Please do include photographs of all of those. Give us a sense of your product or service and maybe your passion for that. Social media, of course, is a great way to promote your business. So again, let us know the details of your website or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever social media platform you're going to use, because we'd like to check that, to be honest with you, ourselves before, as we're reading the reports. And again, the customers themselves can actually post reviews for you. Hopefully they'll be all good, but maybe you can run competitions online as well, and make sure that you follow your customers at the appropriate times maybe of the day, when it's a good time to do that. And of course, if anyone does help you to promote your business, make sure that you actually give them credit for that in your business report. I think that's very important if you've got any help along the way.
Okay, some really, really good points there. And interesting with social media, there's been a huge interest with students this year. I'm actually following a lot on Twitter, and the Student Enterprise are running a great Twitter feed there, and students are sharing their products and their ideas and trying to promote and sell. And it's interesting that you do actually check that up. So the importance of following that right through. We're going to come to the next topic, which we actually had in our live broadcast last time, and that's the finances. So
I suppose the important thing is that you actually budget how much money that you're going to need for your business. And I mean, you've probably started doing that already and keeping track and, keep records. But I suppose what we want to see really in the report is the income versus the expenditure. So we want to see the actual sales and the unit price, versus maybe forecast and projections. They're all good as well. But what we really need to know is that how you structured your price. Did you take into account the materials, the labor, the promotion of your business, and indeed the packaging. Did you finance the business yourself, or did you actually get some borrowings? I mean, that's all fine, but we'd like to know about that. Maybe you got some sponsorship indeed, or did you actually ask customers, to prepay for their orders? You know, include kind of charts and graphs on that for us, like a profit and loss account, a cash flow. Maybe there were fixed costs and then variable costs as well. And then, of course, on the unit price, you need to do a markup for the sales price and have a look at what your competitors really are, what their price is maybe in order to get to that level. But I suppose maybe a 10% markup would be where you should start. Sometimes it's very difficult if you actually price too low to bring the price up, but maybe it's easier if you've had a higher price to maybe reduce, or if you've maybe had stock that you haven't sold, that you could maybe sell that for a discount, stock on hand.
Okay, and we have some templates up online for the finances. We actually, for the cash flow forecast, we tell them to budget first and use the template and then put in their actual, and to know the difference between cash and profit. And as you said, the income and expenses and their costing and markup. And that's a really good tip, I think. Start high, and then you can reduce your price if you're going to have the January, February sales or Valentine, whatever. But really, it's very difficult, isn't it, really, to start low and then try and up your price from there. The next heading then, when you're looking at judging, a very important element of this is your actual personal development for the student. What advice would you give there, Peggy?
Okay, Caroline, I think the whole thing is, when you start your business as a team or a sole trader, we would love to see the passion behind that, the motivation. Why did you choose that product or service? How did you resolve conflicts with your peers? We actually just love to hear the human story behind the enterprise, and maybe the best advice that you received from other people, or maybe even advice that you found online. And what would you actually do differently if you were to start all over again? How would you, I suppose, change what you've done? What skills did you learn along the way? And I suppose the more important one is the plans for the future of your business. We love to hear that you intend to keep the business going into the future.
Okay, Peggy, and I think that's really important. What would you do differently if you were to do this again? It's such a superb learning experience for the students. And interestingly, when you ask questions of the students, like what would you do differently, most of them would have put more work into it, or started earlier, or did things differently, etc. So there's a lot of learning there as such. A very important element of entrepreneurship is innovation. And there's quite a substantial amount of marks going for innovation. So students love to know, what exactly at senior cycle are you looking for in terms of innovation?
Okay, Caroline, I think this is a really good one, and I think the marks are 50 for this one. So as you say, it is substantial. I think maybe to identify, what's different about your product or service, what's unique about it, what's your unique selling point. Maybe if you take a look around, you've seen a problem or an issue that you needed to resolve, and maybe you provided an innovative solution to do that. So maybe it's something that's already on the market, but you've tweaked it to make it better. Maybe it's a niche market that you've identified. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new idea, but I suppose what we're looking for is that you're as creative as possible and that you're thinking outside the box in terms of doing things differently. And I suppose in innovation as well, probably, the packaging is very important, because it really can sell the product for you. If you make it eye-catching and attractive. I actually think, sometimes we go ourselves into a store in past times before COVID, and maybe we see something. We don't necessarily even want to buy that product or service, but the packaging is so nice that we actually, if we go in to buy one thing, we end up coming out with something totally different. So think along those lines and think outside the box in terms of innovation. That's my advice to you folks as students.
Okay, Peggy, so you can be innovative in different ways. And as you say, very few students are going to come up with completely new products or services but it's really adapting it there is what you're looking for. And the importance of actually showing that what you're doing, maybe in terms of the packaging, as you mentioned, might be different. And people, it's by the ambience really more so sometimes than the actual product or a service. What about sales? Are sales really important, Peggy?
Yeah, you know, with sales, I suppose what we do know that the span from September until I think March is where most of the county finals take place. You know, the time limit is short there. So I suppose what we're saying in terms of sales, that definitely, you know, the whole competition is about developing a product or service and then selling it to customers. So you should show the levels of sales that you've generated. It's not necessarily maybe the highest sales that wins the competition, but you actually should be very clear on your actual sales and your unit price versus forecasts or projections. Sometimes there's confusion in the reports, you know, where the students have the sales that they've actually generated or the projections a little bit mixed up. So that's very important that you show the pricing and the sales, and indeed whether it was cost effective. Were there any hidden costs there? You know, did you turn the actual maybe stock on hand into sales and sell them with a discount? I mean, I know it's not easy to sell online with COVID at the moment, but maybe you could sell online if it's not easy to get your stock into shops, you know, but maybe sell online in terms of social media platforms. I suppose the whole thing is just show us the difference between the actual sales generated and the projections for the future of the business.
Okay, so that would be really important in the report. The students say these were our actual sales, and then we hope to in the future with the projected sales to be very, very clear on that. That's really, really good. Okay, the marks are going actually for the whole structure of the business report. So could you give us a few tips on the structure of the report?
Sure, Caroline. I think on the business report, indeed, you know, we're down, I believe, now to 6 headings on the report. So we're not looking for, you know, like a 20-page essay here. What we would like is that the report is structured and very clear and concise. You know, that you actually state the product or service that you're providing at the very, very start. The presentation is very, very important on this one. The layout should be very attractive and very easy to read. So make sure it flows. Don't write your report as a question and answer, but you know, don't make assumptions either, but please don't be repetitive. So actually make sure it flows. Go through the different headings. Tell your story from start to finish. Again, you know, give us the sense that you believe in the business and let us know the future plans for the business as well. So just take a look at the headings. I believe, Caroline, you're telling me the headings are on information for the students. So take a look at each heading and, you know, be concise on each heading as you write the report.
Okay, and they're all available on page 54 of the student logbook there. So they're all there, and all the different tips that go with writing the report. And there's kind of a little mind map there, how to go about writing your report initially. And I loved what you said, Peggy, about like telling your story and not just questions and answers and a very kind of cold, that it needs to be structured, but at the same time, it's your story that you're telling and a nice flow to it there. While the templates will help you write the report, when you're writing it, it's another different process, isn't it really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, you know, if you've got any photographs that you've taken, or indeed if you are able to make a video, it's important that you include all of that, you know, you don't make any assumptions that the judges know anything about the business. So, you know, look upon it as if maybe get even one of your friends or one of your teachers or parents to read the report, because look upon it as if a stranger is reading the report. You know a lot about your business, but you actually need to tell us in the report as much information as you can, still being, you know, pretty concise and structured in that way.
Okay, that's some really, really good advice there. And finally, for this year, to allow for the pandemic, what's been the COVID-19 situation. So what advice would you give there, Peggy?
Do you know, I think that's a very good idea to introduce that section, because obviously that hasn't been there pre-COVID. But I think it's, you know, what we'd like to hear maybe is the difficulties that you have actually overcome because of COVID, or indeed any opportunities that arose, because, you know, we're all living in a different climate here. So, you know, how did you actually adapt maybe your product or service because of the COVID issue? Again, the human story behind that, you know, what risks did you take, and did they actually work? Because out there, certain sectors are doing very well because of COVID. Okay, they might be in, you know, the pharmaceutical area or IT, or indeed some food companies have been very innovative, and, you know, they've actually had to change their business and how they do business to develop the business in terms of COVID. So did you learn anything actually from those businesses out there? You know, take a look online and see if there are businesses in your sector and how they've adapted in these strange times that we live in. So I'm really delighted to see that section in there, and that there's going to be some marks allocated. I believe it's 20 marks to that.
Oh yeah, and I think that is so important. And I suppose you've just given some superb advice there, Peggy, on the judge's perspective and how to help our students and teachers actually, you know, deal with this, because there's been a lot of online learning and there's been, you know, there hasn't been the same time. So just to say, get as much help as you can out there from the student enterprise coordinators in your school, your teacher, your parents, etc. And I often used to find, when I'd be doing the report with students, sometimes a good idea is to say, mark yourself on your product out of 10. How could you up that mark? And the same for your market research. Would you give you the full 20 marks? Maybe I might only get 10. How could I bring that up to 15? How could I bring that up to 20? And just push yourself that little bit. And just to say to all the students, you still have a chance. So make sure that you follow the superb tips that Peggy has given us here this evening, and you should be really prepared for the Student Enterprise Awards. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Look, I'm delighted to be involved in the programme again, folks, and I'm looking forward to seeing all your reports. I believe it's going to be April time, and to reading them. I really enjoy doing this every year. And, you know, I'm so impressed each year as to, you know, how good the products are, obviously, and the services. Obviously, it's not so nice that we can't meet you all, but hopefully we'll all be back in Croke Park or wherever for the national final in 2022. So good luck to everyone, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your reports and reading your reports in April time. Thank you so much, Caroline, for this evening.
Okay, not at all, Peggy. Thank you for all your advice.
Take care.
That's what just happened to my brain. Blown. There's so much there. That was phenomenal advice from Peggy there. And I suppose there's a little bit of a disclaimer I want to point out there. With all this great advice that we keep getting, it can nearly overwhelm us. So what I want to say to you guys is, if you're putting your submission together, don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. I want to hark back to what John said earlier on. Literally, look at your marking scheme. Make sure that you're answering all the questions with passion and with as much detail as you can. But I suppose sometimes when you're listening to Peggy talking or Caroline talking, and there's so many videos and graphs and so much stuff that you guys can do, it can nearly be overwhelming. So what I'm saying is, you have zero chance in this competition if you don't put in a submission. So what I would say is, don't let all this stuff overwhelm you. You can do it. You really can. So isn't that right there, Caroline, there?
Absolutely, Greg. And I suppose we were probably trying to give as much as possible, but I think you said there, to especially to the juniors out there, ensure just, you know, try your best, and it's amazing what you can do. And look for help, I'd say as well, Greg. You know, look for this great help out there, and it should be good. So hopefully after tonight that you'll have as many tips as you need. And again, the resources, not to forget those, they have the templates there. You can go back over it and look at what you need to do, and this will support you as well.
Absolutely. Let's have some competition winners, shall we? We were talking about the COVID, innovative COVID. So the winner, the student winner tonight is Katie Reid from Newtown School in Waterford. Well done, Katie. Congratulations. Now, who's the teacher's winner going to be? We have the winner, Anto Cronin from CBS, The Green Tralee. Huge congratulations to you. So there are winners. I even have a little congratulations for you. See down there? There's your congratulations. Well done, guys. €50 one for all voucher to both of you. As we wrap up the show, I'm going to bring John in and just say, John, you are magnificent tonight. Thank you so much for your tips. So your 5 fantastic tips, and the most valuable thing tonight was address all the issues in the marking scheme. So thank you so much. Obviously, a huge thanks to Peggy McGlynn as well, and our handy host helpers, guys. So that's of course it's Daniel Ruddy and Jack O'Mara. So we really appreciate your words of wisdom as well. Just to remind you guys, we are available to talk to in the morning. So if you have any questions or queries, please go to studententerprise.ie and literally chat to us in the live chat. Pure and simple. That's where we're here to help. Keep an eye on our social media channels for upcoming competitions and news on the next Student Enterprise Program live webinar, which is, I've run out of fingers, so it'll be number 11. I'll have to grow a finger. That's likely to be in 2 weeks. So just keep an eye out for that. And as ever, remember this particular live broadcast is available for playback at the studententerprise.ie website from tomorrow morning. So literally sit back and enjoy it remotely in a COVID safe way with your students. So that's it. That brings us to the end of the show. Hard to believe. From me, Greg Fry, from Caroline, and from John, keep safe, stay healthy, keep innovating, and it's a bye for now. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye, everybody.
There we go. That I'm leaving us for that little bit of an awkward silence. We'll see you next time. See you guys.